how I ended up in $96,000 of student debt. Step 1. Be taken from my birth family just shortly after my birth. Stay in foster care until I'm 3. Be adopted at 3. Remain with my adopted family until I was 10, at such time they dropped me off at a foster home and never came back, at which point I became, again, a ward of the court. Be moved around so much in foster care that I have educational gaps, and be told my junior year that I will not graduate high school. Become increasingly angry that I'm told that I'm too slow and I won't be able to graduate from high school, and so I proceed to take night courses to make up all of those classes. Get to 1 week before walking across the stage and I'm about to fail Algebra 1, and my math teacher has me write an essay on how I'll never use math. Write the essay. Graduate high school. Work at PetSmart for a very long time, and Target and KFC, thinking that will be my life. Meet my boyfriend, who says I'm very smart. Boyfriend says I should go to college. Apply for college with zero understanding of what I'm doing. Ask adopted parent to please pay for my college with the money that they had to set aside each month from the time that they abandoned me at the foster home and they never came back for me. Be told by my adopted father that, in fact, he would help me as soon as I applied for loans, and whatever they didn't cover, he would cover. Don't worry about it. Loans are not covered. Payment never comes. Be told about several grant opportunities that I could apply for, but I would be required to donate my time, volunteer my time, on top of carrying a full course load, dealing with the mental health ramifications of growing up in foster care, all the while maintaining my grades, because if I don't pass my classes, I lose my loans. Graduate from Portland State University with a 3.5 GPA, being the first person in my birth family to ever graduate from college. With zero assistance from the state of Oregon, with zero assistance from my adopted family, who abandoned me and did not come back for me, all the while dealing with the PTSD and the other various mental health disorders that come along with the brain injuries that one incurs from living in foster care long term. Turn around and ask the state if they will now help me since I've graduated from college, and receive letters back from them stating, "You're too old to help." Ladies and gentlemen, that is the story of how I ended up in $96,000 in student loan debt.
The actual chokehold my debt has on me as a 26-year-old with over $100,000 in student loan debt. Like so many other people, my family didn't know anything about money, anything about college. I fully applied to everything on my own, and they encouraged me to take out loans with Sally Mae, the demonic, evil student loan providers that are always pushing you to take out more. And I always see other people talking about this, and in the comments there's always people like, "Ooh, take accountability, like you're the one that took it out, you chose to take it out." Literally, sometimes I'm like, someone take me out. Like, I do not want to be alive dealing with this crippling stress on my shoulders.
Don't pay those student loans. Don't pay your student loans. If you're confused about what to do, honestly, just enroll back in school. Like, just re-enroll. And the longer you're enrolled in school, you know, your payments are deferred. Just keep getting those degrees. I just feel like that's the solution to the problem, because who's going to pay these loans? And in all seriousness, if you do get them deferred, you have like 6 months to like a year before you actually do have to start paying them back. I would recommend like working for nonprofit organizations. With those nonprofits, most of them will start to begin to pay your student loans back. There is a website that you can also go on to apply to have your loans forgiven. So that is an option as well. But in the meantime, honey, just re-enroll for the summer semester or re-enroll for the fall semester. It doesn't matter. Get those loans deferred. Nobody's paying him. No. Mm-mm.
For those of you that may be entertaining the idea of not paying your student loan by taking a class or two, I promise you this. There is going to come a point when you are tired of going to school. It doesn't matter if it's online and you're used to being holed up in your bedroom or some office study and ignoring the rest of the world, or if you're going brick and mortar. There's going to come a time when you are simply tired. You don't want to do it anymore. You don't want your holidays, your vacations, concerned with what paper is due. Well, it may seem tempting to take a class or two to avoid your student loan. I want you to think of this. You've already seen that it's not successful when you go on income-based, right? Because it's not enough to reach into the interest, much less the principal. So we know that that is not financially smart. It doesn't work. So why would you take out more debt to take a class or two to avoid paying another debt. Now then, for those that may say, well, I'm going to go ahead and simply make the payments that I would have made to my student loan, and I'm going to use that to pay for the class or two. Well, in theory, you may think you're going to do that. For most people, I don't think it's going to work that way. I look at it kind of like people who take debt. They consolidate their credit card debt. Let's say they put into a HELOC or whatever, okay? And they swear, I'm never going to touch that credit card. It's all cleared up. I shuffled it into a HELOC. Well, first of all, did they actually clear the debt? No, they didn't. They stuck it into a HELOC. And what do they typically do with that credit card? They run it right back up again. Now they're in HELOC debt and more credit card debt. You know, the credit card that they just cleared off. I want you to kind of take that analogy and think about it with student loans when you say, oh, I'm only going to take, I'm going to take 1 or 2 classes and I'm going to use the money that I would have paid on the student loan to go pay that class. I can bet that there are going to be a good majority of people, you ain't going to do that. What's going to wind up happening is you're actually going to just wind up taking more student loan debt. Because remember, times are already tight. You already can't afford the debt that you have. I've been there. I understand. Okay? But times are tight. So what are you going to be tempted to do? Just like a credit card, you're going to say, hey, you know what? I think I could take out more student loans for this, and you're going to do that. Now you get to run up the new student loan debt, because remember, you're taking those 1 or 2 classes to avoid the old student loan debt that you already have and that you can't afford. It makes no sense. Think twice before you do that.
Against debt bondage. I think somebody with more legal training than me could make an argument that this student loans are financial entrapment. According to the Department of Labor, if the loan terms are unreasonable, they were, then the terms need to be renegotiated. And if the supplier, the government, inflated the worker's indebtedness, the supplier should be required to cancel the debt. These predatory loans are financial entrapment. Being unable to discharge them through bankruptcy is debt bondage.
I have student loans. I'm currently paying roughly $900 a month in student loans. I'm not in default. My wages aren't about to be garnished, all of that fun stuff. But my question is, if people stop paying their student loans, like if student loans are forgiven, what really happens? Like, what is the issue with that? Why is it that big of a deal? I don't understand that world of student loan payments. The one thing I can say, and the one thing I do know, is that with this whole garnishing of wages that's about to happen, is that affects everyone. Like, you might be like, pay your loan, you gotta pay your loan. But you know what happens the moment you start taking, like, I think it's up to 15% of somebody's wages that they would typically use to buy groceries, buy clothes, stimulate the economy, that stops. So that means the prices of everything just goes up. Our groceries are going to go up. Let's not forget everything else that's going to go up because of other things that are happening. But think about taking, 5 million people's disposable wages and giving it to the government and not having that go into your economy.
I wish they treated student loans like they treat IRS debt. If you have IRS debt, you could file for an offer in compromise and settle with the government and go about your day. And it's all based on your income, your expenses, and your assets. Why can't the government do something like that for student loans? Think about the amount of people it could really, really help. And it would get all that foolishness off their books, and they wouldn't be spending all this time collecting on people who don't even have the money to pay because the degrees didn't even pay like they promised they would.
You can tell FAFSA to go on right to hell, and I'll meet them there. I'm not giving y'all a cent of my money, okay? Money that I don't have, by the way. But even if I did have the money to pay for it, you're still not getting it. Y'all the one that forced us to go in the first place, telling us that if we didn't go to college, we weren't going to amount to nothing. And, going to college is better than having a trade. And, if you want to have this amount of money, then you need to... All lies. All lies. Most of us are unemployed. Most of us are working in fields that have nothing to do with our degree. And you want my money. You can take that up with whoever you need to take it up with. Take it up with Jesus. I already paid it all.
Who's going to tell me that student loans were going to ruin my life? Because not one person that was like, go to school, get the college experience. Not one person told me that student loans were going to ruin my life. That every single paycheck I earned was going to go straight to Sally Mae and FAFSA. Like, no one told me that. So if you need me, I'll be living in a cardboard box. Like, I was, you know, just got my $7 coffee. I know, absurd. But I didn't know while I was getting my coffee, I was going to get an email saying that my monthly payments start in June. No, they don't. No, they don't. Just get rid of them. Like, what do I need to do? So now I'm sitting in Target because I panicked. I was like, oh my God. And watching everybody walk out with their cute little purchases, their summer purchases, and guess what? Who's not making a purchase? Me. Because apparently I owe my life. Sally Mae and FAFSA. Can someone pay me for my degree? Will someone buy it from me? Please and thank you.
I think this might be a difficult reality for many of us that have carried student loan debt, whether we continue to carry it or whether or not it was forgiven. And that is perhaps that part of the problem with student loans and why we are so heavily in debt, we like to say it's the interest. We like to say it's the cost of college. Both of those we can say are legitimate. College is very expensive. And at times, oftentimes, it feels like the interest that we pay on the debt doesn't seem fair, especially when we continue to pay interest to the point that it exceeds the principal amount. But that typically happens because we are only making minimum payments. And when our minimum payments each month, regardless of how many years we've paid on it, if those payments every single month are not high enough to go past the interest and into the principal, it doesn't matter how long you pay on a bill, the bill's only going to go up. So I recognize that those are certainly a problem. But here's another factor that I think we don't discuss enough. And that is Americans have, should we say, an insatiable appetite at times, too often, myself included. We buy more than we can afford to purchase. Let's imagine us looking at student loan debt like buying a house. And you've heard me say many times, okay, student loan debt is just like a mortgage. It's like a house. Just the difference is you can't live in it. Now then, if we look at a house that we know is too expensive for us, smart people, we're not going to purchase it. We're going to say that is too much house. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And here's the kicker. Even if you could afford the monthly mortgage payment on that house, you could comfortably afford the monthly mortgage. All right. Could you afford to upkeep it? Is the house something that you can reasonably afford to maintain? For people who are really good at budgeting, the way it typically works is if you can't afford to maintain the house, even though you could technically afford the mortgage, then we know that is too much house and we should not buy it. Now then, let's transfer that idea to a student loan. We look at a student loan balance, hopefully before we enter college. And we know a lot of people don't, but we're going to put that aside for right now. Let's just say we find out that a college is going to cost us, let's just throw out a number, $40,000 a year, which is going to come out with a $160,000 bill per se. That would be the mortgage. That would be the principal. Now then, we have to tack on all the interest as we carry that loan to pay it off. My question is, or my thought I should say is, we don't treat student loans with the same limits, the same stopgap break measures that we treat, hopefully, buying a house or buying a car. I recognize when I'm buying too much property. I recognize when I'm buying too much car. But we don't make that recognition with student loans. And why don't we? Well, one of many reasons, I'm sure, is the fact that there is a social acceptance of student loan debt. Everybody takes out student loan debt. Everybody. So therefore, it's okay if you do it. And since so many people take out student loan debt without thinking about the financial consequences of what they're doing, it makes it more excusable for you and your friends and your extended family members to do the exact same thing. This is one of the reasons we not only have generational debt and poverty due to student loans, but we also have just in general societal, $1.4 trillion student loan bill nationwide. Now then, let's imagine that our student loan is our house. Do you have the same willpower to say, I can't afford that school. Do you have the same willpower to say that as you would have the willpower to say, I can't afford that car, I can't afford that mortgage? Somehow or another, with student loans, a lot of us, myself included, okay, we lose or we lost the willpower somewhere along the line. And I think part of the reason we lose that willpower to say, no, I can't afford that, is the fact that so many of our hopes, our dreams, our financial future, the ability to be successful financially, to have the kids, to raise the family, to live in the place that you want, so much of that depends on your level of education that for a lot of people, myself included, we're willing to throw out what we might call financial logic in favor of hopes and dreams, even though they may not actually be fiscally responsible for us to do so. If we would take the same look at student loans and say, oh my gosh, you want me to buy, let's just throw out a number, $100,000 degree. I can't afford $100,000 degree. And here's the kicker, just like a mortgage, even if you could afford the $100,000, can you afford the interest? Start thinking of your student loan like a house. Yes, you may be able to afford the mortgage, but no, you cannot afford to maintain 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 square feet, whatever of that house. Start looking at your student loan with the same critical eye, the same critical math that you would look at with a house and a car or any other major purchase. You may have been able to afford the principal of the student loan balance, but what's kicking you is the interest. And here's the thing. The interest itself, let's say you get student loan interest, I think it hovers around 6-7% right now for federal loans. And of course, this applies to private loans which can be higher, okay? So it's not really even the interest. See, here's the thing, folks. We're telling ourselves over and over, we're getting screwed over by the interest rate. It's really not the interest rate, in my opinion, that's screwing us over. What's screwing people over is you are buying too much principal. The principal, the balance that you are taking out is so high that when you actually get out of college and you have to look at how much these payments are, you can't afford it. So you blame the interest rate. It's really not the interest rate. If we transfer this idea, again, to a house, if you fail on a house, did you fail because the interest rate was too high, or was it typically because, oh, geez, I just bought too much house. I should have bought a house instead of $300,000. Maybe I should have gone with the house that was $225,000. We easily are able to say it's the interest, it's Sally Mae, it's the federal government. Well, actually, Sally Mae sucks. So yeah, I'm going to stick with Sally Mae on that. But it's easy for us to say it's the interest rate that, did us in. It's really not. It's our inability to say we can't afford the principal balance of that student loan debt. Okay, let's think about it. Someone who owes $100,000 on a student loan bill, which is not uncommon these days. Okay, so someone who owns $100,000, they can't afford the monthly payment. They cannot afford, for most of them, at least the ones on TikTok, they can't afford to make that initial monthly payment that gets them through the interest into the principal. So they go on social media, and sometimes rightfully so, and say, hey, you know what? I can't afford it. It's too high. The interest is too high. It's not the interest that's killing you. It's the principal. You shouldn't have taken out, and I'm not scolding here, so don't misunderstand me, okay? You and I, all right, should not have taken out a $100,000 loan. That is too much principal. But what would happen if you had taken out, let's just say, $25,000 loan? Chances are you'd have been able to pay it off. I could have paid it off. Heck, I might even be able to do 40 total by myself. But no, I was dumb and went back and got a second master's degree and ran up to 85. So then it became 110,000 over time. And yes, I'm just like everybody else. I made all my payments. I made them on time, yada, yada. And the interest still grew because I didn't make enough to pay into the principal. It's not the interest that's really killing us, in my opinion. Even though we would like interest, I'd like to see 3, 4, 5%, we might be seeing 5, 6, 7%, but it's really not the interest. It's the principal. You've got to look at the principal balance of what you are taking out. It's a house. Can you afford it?
I've been on my For You page and I've been scrolling, yeah. And I keep hearing about these student loans, That's how they're gonna be garnishing people paychecks, taking their tax returns, and we gotta spend for people to live. Y'all want people to go to college, we still gotta pay for that. Then on top of that, you get the loan, you gotta pay interest on the loan. What's the point of you giving me the loan? And then as I pay the loan off, interest still building. So bitch, what you paying it for? One lady said she was $45,000 in loan loan debt or something like that, and she been paying it for over 9 years, and she still didn't get close to paying off her debt. Yo, so at this point, they course the just get a trade. Get a trade.
If you're on the internet claiming that you got your student loans taken off your credit report because TikTok told you to go dispute them, don't apply for a home loan, okay? Just don't worry about it. We can see it. We're going to know, okay? We always know. We can see things that you can't see. If you stop making payments, we're going to see that. When you go in default, we're going to see that. It's going to be on cameras, y'all. You can run, but you cannot hide. All these little tips and tricks and hacks and stuff like that, it does not work. So while I love and I appreciate, because I sit here before you with, I don't know how much money I owe anymore. I think I'm at like 130, 140,000. I have no idea. I didn't borrow that much. I borrowed like $80,000 for my undergrad and my master's degree. And I lived on my loans for my master's degree. But the point of the story is, y'all, you can run, but you can't hide. I mean, I want to hide too, but don't think you get ready to be applying for a loan talking about, oh yeah, my loans are gone. We're going to see them. We're going to know.
Conversation being reductive is the entire reason that the conversation is ongoing. Because none of these videos are like, hey, this is how you get into college. These are the courses that you should take. These are the classes you should take. These are the career fields that are looking for these degrees. These are the ones you can go in that are lucrative. None of it. It's just man bashing. That's all it is. It's not just reductive. It's bad faith. And it's ironically all the educated people that are making these arguments to gain other people. They're showing they have a high level of education and a low level of intelligence.
I keep seeing student loan debt videos and how, it's going into collections and everybody needs to start paying back. And there's people in the comments talking about we don't mind to pay it back. We just don't want to pay the interest and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm trying to figure out who is the we in this equation. Because not I. Not I don't want to pay none of it back. And I mean none of it. Interest or not, I don't want to pay it back. I don't know. I just feel like I shouldn't even be in this country. School should be free. Y'all don't want to, that's my reparations. Yeah. Free education is my reparations. Y'all don't want to give me nothing else. Take that student loan debt. I don't want to pay it back. I really don't. Interest or not. Y'all can keep that because baby, I do not want to pay none of it back. Even if they take away the interest, I don't want to pay it back.